To go live. How is everybody today? Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so excited about today, if I'm being honest, because we have spent so much time talking about all of the feelings and emotions. We have gone on such a journey. We have talked all about the ones that are really low in vibration, that we want to transmute and transcend in an effort to become empowered, to shift into a new way of being and thinking. And today we finally kind of cross over out of some of those low vibrational feelings like shame, guilt, grief, apathy, fear. We've covered so many of them. This is like our sixth or seventh. I don't even know. I've lost count, but this one's exciting for me because as we reach the point of courage, things really start to begin to shift in a big way. So I can't guarantee I'm going to be a half an hour. I have a lot of stuff to cover. If you are here live, say hi in the comments. I want to say hi back to you. If you have any questions, please, please, please feel free to ask them. And I'm going to try and just get a move on right away because we have a lot of ground to cover as it relates to courage. And as you can see, I am super pumped. I'm super excited, and I'm excited to really share it all with you. So as always, let me pull up my notes. So yes, we've been talking about the frequency of these different emotions, with shame starting at 20, going all the way up to peace at 1,000. So courage is where things start to flip. Courage is a vibrational output of 200, which means we are starting to come into that place of higher vibration, starting to come into a place where we're more confident, where we're feeling good about taking chances, about taking risks, and all of those things. So I'm super stoked to be discussing courage with you, because I think this is something that I think once I started embodying my own courage is when things really started to change for me in my own life, when I really started to put one foot in front of the other in terms of making my own dreams a reality. But I had a lot of work to do to get there, and you have been doing all of this work with me as we've gone on this journey together. So let's get to talking about it. Why are you here? Is my question. You might be here because you have spent a good portion of your life in these lower vibrational frequencies, these lower vibrational feelings of low self-worth, of undeservingness, of just not feeling good enough, and you want to explore a different way of being. You've been on this with me, and you're ready to start transmuting it into a higher vibrational output, which means higher vibrational opportunities are going to come your way. If you're tired of waking up feeling as though things just aren't working for you anymore, if they aren't going your way and you just want to create new opportunities for yourself, it's going to take courage. So that's why this one's really important. If you're aware that if for things to change, you need to release some of your lower vibrational emotions, moving through them in a way that resonates, that is another reason why you might be here. Alexa in the house. Yes. I don't know why I'm so pumped about that, but anyways, that was a big reaction. If you're beyond ready to start creating opportunities for yourself and you want the courage to start making things happen, this is the one you want to be here for. Let me know if you're watching the replay also, because replay is just as good. And if there is a sense of excitement for you right now about what it means to have courage and you want to start embodying it fully, this is where we're going to start making that happen, and it's one step at a time. So before we can move on, of course, we got to go through the definition of courage. I don't really particularly like either of these, but we're going to do it for the sake of consistency. Number one, APA, American Psychological Association. Courage is the ability to meet a difficult challenge despite the physical, psychological, or moral risks involved in doing so. Examples of acts of courage include saving another's or one's own life against threat, coping with painful, debilitating illness, overcoming destructive habits, and voicing unpopular opinion. That's what the American Psychological Association has to say about courage. I don't know if I necessarily 100% agree, but we are going to redefine what it means to be courageous here in this live. Very Well Mind says it's the willingness to respond fearlessly despite the anxiety and worry that might be tugging at you. A refusal to allow that fear to paralyze and to keep you stuck. Really and truly, what we're doing with courage is we're transmuting fear. We're kicking it to the curb. It's time for fear to get out of here. I don't know. I'm hyper today, friends. This is just how it's going to go. You know this happens sometimes if you've been here a while. And like I was saying before, we are at the point where things really start to shift. We are moving out of lower vibrational feelings and emotions, and we are increasing our output. And this is where it gets exciting. This is where it gets exciting. You can tell I'm excited. obviously, because up until this point, the focus might have been on hopelessness, sadness, fear, frustration. And at this stage in the game, you are starting to move into the frequency of empowerment, meaning you're more willing to explore possibilities with fortitude and determination. Whew, I need to take a breath. My heart is pumping. That's how excited I am. So this is actually where the real growth and development begins to start, because there is a willingness to take chances, to shift your experience, to seek out new opportunities, to face fears, and to take your personal growth in your own hands. We talk a lot about taking our power back, taking your power back. And maybe up until this point, you will have been looking externally for validation, whereas now you're like, no more. I am courageous. I am brave. I am taking that back into my own hands. And while that might be scary and fearful, I am ready to do it, because ultimately with courage comes accountability, awareness, and responsibility, which is so powerful in terms of your own growth and expansion, right? And I think the nicest thing about courage is this is where kind of neutrality tends to come into play, you know, where you're not thinking so much in fear-based terms, or you're just letting things kind of happen and be organically. So let's think about this in terms of a job. So perhaps you want to apply for a new job at your work, or you want to switch careers, you want to switch locations, no matter what it is. Whereas before you reach the impasse of courage, you might have been doing this out of a sense of desperation, where you're like, my whole life is riding on getting this job and I can't change my life unless I do it. So you're placing all of the need for validation into obtaining this job, thinking if I don't get this position, that's it, my life is over. When you come to courage, there's a bit more neutrality to it, meaning if I don't get this position, I know it wasn't meant for me. There's something else that's coming my way. Where you can look at it, instead of looking at it from a place of desperation, you start to look at it in terms of like, what will be, what is meant for me will come to me. So you can see how those kind of statements differentiate, and how that mindset is very different one to the other. Desperation versus courage versus I know it's going to be okay. Knowing what's meant for me is going to come for me. So I want to give a personal example. I was in a job many moons ago. I was very unhappy, very miserable. This was probably, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 years at this point. And I was trying to get out of there desperately, because I knew I could not stay in that job anymore. So I was applying for this one position, and I was putting all of my eggs into this. I was like, I am so stuck forever if I don't get this one job. And I desperately wanted this job. I didn't get it. And it was like, my world was over. I was a crying, sobbing mess. It was awful. Like that, going through that process was really brutal. But to be honest with you, in hindsight, as I look back on it, I had to go through that. I had to not get that job. I had to switch to a different job. All of these kind of happened. All these things sort of fell into place for me to come into where I am now today, right? So nothing is without reason. I had to experience that to come to where I am now, to come into a place of neutrality, courage, and all of that good stuff. So what else happens when you begin to step into a place of courage? As I was saying, you begin to be able to roll with the punches, recognizing the power of the universe. I love the universe. You can call it whatever you want, whatever relates to you, source, God, universe, whatever really speaks to you. You're confident that what is meant for you is going to find you. And that's what it means to step into this courageous point in your journey, that you know things are going to come as they're meant to. You will find, as you step into courage, you'll find that people want to be around you more. So as your energy shifts, as you shift into a higher vibrational energy, you will start to attract people that want to be around you, people that want to kind of immerse themselves in your own energy. You know, people are like, hey, what's different about you? Or what's going on? Or you're just so positive and wonderful to be around. And it's because you're more confident, comfortable, and emotionally regulated. You have more faith in yourself and your position in the world? Yes, in the world. Okay. So you're also beginning to sense that you're in control of yourself and only yourself. You cannot control the behavior of other people. Before you hit courage, it's like you're trying to control everything around you. You're kind of being that person that wants to control the situation, the environment, those that are in your inner circle. But you begin to realize as you step into courage that the only thing you can control is you. That's the only thing that you have control of, not other people, which is a profound realization and recognition, and something that's so huge and important and pivotal in your expansion and in your growth, right? And really and truly, from there, things really begin to unfold. life begins looking quite different and you are no longer the same. Once you hit this point, it's like you look back on your experience, you look back on your journey and all of the emotions and feelings that came before it. And while you can reflect on it and think about it and really appreciate everything that you went through to get to this point, there's no going back. You just kind of move forward and you build on this courage, you build on your new foundation, and you plunge ahead, you forge ahead. Holy cow. I need to slow down my mouth so my brain can catch up. But let's talk a little bit about some of the benefits of embracing courage, because I know there's a lot of fear there, and maybe some of you right now are still at that point in your journey where it's kind of fear-based. You're still trying to move through fear. So let's talk about some of the benefits that come with embracing courage. And before I move on to that, I want you to know that courage is similar to confidence in the sense that courage is like a muscle. You can actually strengthen it through practice, through taking one small step at a time. You can actually move to increase or to build your courage muscle. So if you're just sort of getting there, just starting to like a little baby on your courage journey, that's okay. The more you practice, the stronger you're going to get. So some of the benefits to embracing this courageous ass side of you: you're going to build confidence, comfort, determination in your own abilities. Your worthiness, your self-confidence really begins to increase because you recognize that no matter what comes your way, you can take it on. You can make things happen for yourself. And it's because you're willing to kind of put that fear aside and not let it run the show that you can be like, okay, I can make anything happen for myself. But again, this is going to take time. Another great benefit is you have a willingness to see the world through a positive lens. When you're living in a low vibrational frequency, it's really hard to see the world positively. You're more likely to err on the negative side and only see the negative. But when you only program your brain to see the negative, that's all the evidence you're going to have. You're only going to see negativity. But when you become more courageous, you start to see the positive aspects of life. You start to shift and see that things aren't happening to you, that you have control. You begin to take your power back and you start making things happen for yourself. And instead of the world looking like it's impossible or it's negative or it's out to get you, you start to see that the possibilities are endless. There's actually a sea of possibilities in front of you. You just need to be able to recognize and have enough confidence in yourself to know that you can reach out and grab them. Another beautiful thing that happened, and I noticed this in my own journey as well, is I don't want this to come across as I'm being like conceited or I'm trying to toot my own horn, but I am just telling you this as this is the feedback that I've heard. You become an inspiration for those around you. People want to know what you're doing differently because your vibration is so much higher that you begin attracting other people. And they're like, wait a minute, what is she doing that I'm not doing? How is it that she's showing up every day that's affording her the ability to transmute her own fear and to move into a place where she can take opportunities and take chances despite the fear? Trust me though, a caveat, the fear never goes away. It's still there, trust me, but you begin to see fear as a catalyst, as a way to move you into a new direction. Being an inspiration is infectious, but in the good way. This is the kind of thing you do want to spread to other people, is inspiration, positivity, and all that stuff. And you begin to serve as a person that empowers others. And more than anything else, I got into this career because I wanted to empower women. I wanted to empower other people and show them what it is that they're capable of. That is truly what I came here to this earth to do. So it's another kind of byproduct of being courageous and stepping into it, the fact that you can empower others. Being able to recognize, and I just talked about being able to recognize that fear is never going to go away. Fear is going to consistently come up. I consistently have to work through it time and time and time again. But at the point of courage is you are no longer willing to let fear stand in your way. You might feel it. It might be in your chest. It might be raging through you. It might be coursing through your veins, but you're unwilling to give fear the power any longer. Because yes, while fear is meant to protect you through the fight, flight, or freeze mechanism, meaning it wants to keep you safe. And if you're trying to do something different, the body perceives that as you being unsafe. So it gives you fear to notify you and be like, hey, you're doing something that's unknown. You're doing something outside of your comfort zone. That's scary. You better address that. It's knowing the mechanics of the body and saying, okay, fear, thank you so much. That's really nice of you. I appreciate the fact that you want to protect me, but I am going to take this chance anyway. You're willing to move through it. You're willing to feel it, label it, and then do the thing anyways. You're no longer letting it hold you back. You're willing to pursue your dreams. You're willing to seek out opportunities. You're willing to be more fulfilled in life, and you are unwilling to accept anything less than that. And on top of that, you're no longer willing to live a life that is rooted in societal expectations, because societal expectations put a lot of fear into us, because if we're not meeting what society says is normal, quote unquote, we start to get fearful. But we don't have to live a life that's rooted in societal expectations. We can build and create a life for ourselves that is for us, meant for us, that's based on our own desires, or more specifically, your own desires. Your own desires. And ultimately, your level of happiness as you come into courage transcends. It grows exponentially. You wake up whistling. That was the first thing that I really noticed. I was like, wow, I'm like happy to be awake. I'm happy to see what's going to come for my day. I'm like happy to be alive. This is incredible. This is amazing. And that's something that is a really beautiful byproduct of courage, that this happiness that comes along with it, because you know you're not letting anything stand in your way ever again, and you're willing to just go out there and make life happen to you and for you. So those maybe I should take a sip of coffee and slow down for a second. Do you guys like my cup? Isn't it so cute? It kind of matches my outfit. Peonies, my favorite. Okay, so let's talk about how you can empower your inner courage. And before we go there, I want to say that as humans, we're conditioned to avoid anything that makes us feel a sense of fear or discomfort. And we just talked about that. And our body is, evolutionarily speaking, been trying to prevent us from making decisions that might result in us doing something different or feeling fearful, right? And we aren't really like taught. Think about this, really. Think about your school experience. Did they teach you how to have courage, what that meant, how to transmute fear and step into courage? Let me know in the comments. Alice says, good morning. Good morning to you as well. So happy you're here. But I rant on and on about the school system and how we're not teaching kids enough about these emotions and how to move through them and how to transmute one to another so that they can embrace their own courage, and they're not living in a fearful and a fear-based mentality where they know and they're being equipped with all the tools they need to really soar and fly. So that's something that I wish they would teach in schools. Honestly, if I could be in charge of the curriculum, it would be very, very different. But all I can do is share my point with you in hopes that perhaps if you have young children, you pass some of this information along to them as well. And as a no swearing or anything like that, so you can feel confident that you can share some of this with them depending on the topic. I'll leave that up to your decision. But if you want to share this with young people, I would recommend that you do so, because there's a lot to learn here, right? So and I do want to say this as well too, in terms of courage, it's rooted in fear and it's rooted in avoidance that we don't step into courage. So we can only avoid things for so long. We can only push them down and live that way before you become stuck and stagnant. And we want to avoid becoming stuck and stagnant. So in order to avoid that, we have to consistently transcend our emotions until we get to this point of courage and know that you can do hard things no matter what happens. Even if you try something and it doesn't go the way you had expected, or it goes differently than you thought, it's okay. No matter what comes your way, if you're stepping into and being courageous, you are going to realize just how resilient you are, that you can do hard things. And that helps you and supports you in becoming courageous, because in the back of your mind, you just keep telling yourself, I can do hard things. No matter what comes my way, I can do hard things. Even if it's rejection, even if you go for that job and you don't get it, it's okay. I can manage it. I can deal with it. I can move through it. It's cool. I have the confidence to know that even if things crumble, it's okay. I can move on. So let's talk about some of the ways you can empower your courage. Number one is ask yourself, if I wasn't fearful, how would I behave? This is a powerful question to ask yourself. If I didn't have fear, how would I be behaving differently? And I want you to take some time. You can even, like, if you are a person that journals, even journal it out. Write it at the top. If I wasn't fearful, how would I be behaving? Imagine yourself as someone with courage. How would that person show up differently? How would you look? Like, how would you be different? What characteristics would you be embodying? Make it as detailed as possible, because this will, as you're mentally rehearsing this and imagining it, it becomes that much easier to become courageous, because you've already determined what it looks like, and you know kind of as you become courageous, it's going to mean that you leave some of that fear behind, or you feel it and you do the thing anyways. So that's number one. That's a great question to ask yourself. How would I be behaving if I wasn't fearful? Number two is remembering that trying something, even trying it, is better than doing nothing, right? Because oftentimes you might be avoiding taking chances or shifting your life in some type of way because you're fearful you might fail. If you work with me and everything changes, it's kind of shifting that mentality. It's like you have to weigh out, like, if I stay the same, what's worse, taking a chance and maybe it doesn't work out, but maybe it's everything, or staying the same. Trying something is always better than trying nothing at all, because if you do nothing, you're guaranteed to not change, you're guaranteed to not shift. And will it take courage? Absolutely. Absolutely it does. Because, I mean, obviously, any chance you take in life, there's a potentiality that it might not work out the way you might have thought. But if you at least try, if you put, that confidence in yourself that, yes, I do have the potential to shift. I do have the potential to make change in my life. Trying is better than doing nothing, because nothing will result in more of the same. That is how you begin to tap into courage. Number three, shifting your mindset. I am all about shifting your mindset. If you have always programmed yourself to feel into and allow fear to run the show, it's going to take some time to shift out of that. But in order to do so, you want to focus on some of your strengths. You want to focus on, what am I good at? What do I excel at? And if you can focus on what you're capable of, it will then support you in recognizing and realizing that I can have courage. Look at all these things I'm good at. I am an exceptional listener. I am very compassionate. I'm supremely empathetic. I have the ability to soothe people. I have the ability to empower people. So if you're thinking of those things, your own courage begins to increase, because you're focusing on your strengths as opposed to focusing on all the things that are holding you back. So that's another way that you can empower your own courage. Number four, and we talked about this earlier, is considering that courage is a muscle that you have to strengthen. You have to practice. And it can be as small as doing one small courageous thing that you wouldn't have done yesterday. Maybe, for example, you have kind of a fear around talking to new people. Like you have a fear of public speaking. Okay, so let's take the fear of public speaking, for example. And I mean, you're not just going to go tomorrow and get on stage and speak in front of 1,000 people. That would be too much, too soon, too overwhelming. But can you talk to a stranger tomorrow? Can you say hi to a stranger while you're at the grocery store? Start there. Start small. And then the next day, maybe you say hi to 2 people while you're walking down the street. And then the day after that, you increase your courage. And as this increases and you're practicing, maybe you go live on Facebook and talk to a bunch of people. Trust me, when I first started logging in and going live here on Facebook, I was so scared. It was nerve-wracking. I'm like, what do people point and laugh at me? But now it's like I get on here and it's no problem, but it's taken practice. But you have to make those first little steps, first baby steps for increasing and building your courage. Number 5, I want you to imagine the best case scenarios and worst case scenarios, because obviously we've talked about conditioning and we're conditioned to always think of the worst case scenarios. Like catastrophic thinking is something that's like rooted deeply in our brains. And I don't know the origin of that. I mean, I probably could if I sat here and really reflected on society and how we've evolved and all of that stuff, and it would just be a rabbit hole. But I want you to consider, I mean, yes, you're going to consider worst case scenarios because that is just simply who we are as human beings. But I also want you to imagine the flip side. What are the best case scenarios? If you drum up the courage to do something, what is the best thing that can come of it? Because if I ask you what's the worst, then you can give me pages and pages and pages. But if I ask you what are the best things, it might be a little bit more difficult. But if you can start to think in that way, starting to think more about the best case scenarios, you can step into the courage that much easier, right? You can tap into it because then you start to get excited. You're like, okay, if you're applying for a job, if I don't get it, I'm going to be devastated. If I don't get it, I'm going to be rejected. I'm going to be a failure. If I do get it, whoa, I might get more recognition at work. I might get an increase in salary. I might get respect from my colleagues. I might have uplifted confidence. I might, be more excited to go to work. So start thinking about the best case scenarios, and that might entice you to put that resume in and go for that job, even if you don't quite feel ready or if you have a lot of fear there. Point number 6 is taking baby steps. So remember, courage isn't going to happen overnight. We live in fear-based thinking more than any other thinking that there is. So to be able to shift that overnight would be completely setting us up for disappointment. So if you, taking the career example, if you want to, let's say, switch careers entirely, let's say you've been working in one position, one type of industry for your whole life, but it's not really something you're passionate about, and you're like, okay, I want to explore an entirely different career, but there's a lot of fear there. You're like, wait a minute, I have bills to pay, I have this, I have that. You're making the laundry list of all the reasons why you should be fearful. But what if you took a small baby step? So for example, when I was deciding to move out of my corporate jobs and move into counseling, opening up my own practice, that's very scary. Obviously, I had to do there was a whole lot of groundwork I had to go through. And if I looked at it kind of like from above, it would seem very overwhelming. But to build up that courage, I had to take baby steps. So open the internet. How to be a counselor, you know what I mean? Like you kind of have to do those first little, like break it into small chunks. And as you break it into small chunks, it becomes easier to do one thing at a time. So for me, I had to say, okay, what credentials do I need? Look it up. Okay, that's cool. What's the next thing? Get all my transcripts. Okay, cool. That was the next thing. Apply. That was the next thing. And doing one small baby step at a time. Remember, small steps get you towards your greater overall goal. So you have to break it up one step at a time. Teeny tiny baby steps. That's how we're going to do this when you're trying to embody courage. And after each and every step you take, this takes me to point number 7, you are going to friggin' celebrate. Celebrate good times, come on. You get the point, right? After every single courageous thing you do, I don't even care if it's, let's say you want to embody a healthier lifestyle and you are like, I want to begin working on moving my body more. And you haven't moved your body in months. If you go out and you take a 5-minute walk, that takes courage because you're worried about everybody judging you. After that 5-minute walk, you celebrate, you dance like no one's watching, however you want to celebrate. And I don't mean you got to post it on social media or share it with the world, but if you want to dance, like, yes, I went for the walk, I did it, I moved my body, that's what you're going to do. You're going to celebrate every little courageous thing that you do because as you celebrate, you begin to strengthen the muscle and you provide the muscle positive reinforcement by doing that little celebration. It's a silly thing. It's a little thing. It will bring joy to your life. It will put a smile on your face and it will make it that much easier to start doing the next courageous thing. Maybe the next day you go out for an 8-minute walk. Maybe the day after that, a 10-minute walk, and you're building on courage. So it's a huge part of it is celebration. And I obviously love to celebrate everything. And finally, point number 8, make peace with failure. Okay? Failure is nothing more than an opportunity to grow and develop. People are terrified of failure. What would people think of me? What would people say about me? If I fail, what would they think? But can you imagine, like, what do really, like, if a friend of yours takes a chance, for example, and puts themselves out there and it doesn't go as planned and they're like, oh my God, I'm a failure, I'm the worst. Do you not feel proud of them? Are you not like, I am inspired by you because you took a chance where nobody else would have, right? Embrace that failure. It just means that there's something else that you need to explore. If things don't work out, it's okay. Take the feedback, take the criticism, implement it, and move on to the next thing, because failure is just a sign that you might not be on the right track and that there's something else that's meant for you. And if you don't succeed, it's okay. You just try and find the next thing. You pick yourself back up, and you don't let it shatter your courage. Don't let it prevent you from moving on or doing the next thing, because something is meant for you. Don't fear failure. Embrace it. It's there to teach you a lesson and to empower you. And my heart is still like racing because I'm so excited, because courage is where I want to get all of my clients to when they work with me. Because a lot of times when clients come into my world, they are in this lower vibrational, frequency. Maybe they have fear, maybe they have anger, grief, shame, all of these things. And so much of the work that I do is taking you from these lower vibrational emotions and getting you to courage. That is the whole purpose of the Purposeful Insight program, is to get you to courage. Because if you are at this point, if I work with you collaboratively to get you to a place where you are courageous and you are willing to take chances, put yourself first, your confidence is skyrocketing, you have, your self-esteem is pumping, you feel worthy, that sets the rest of your life up for something incredible. But the point of this program is to get you to courage. And that is what I'm seeing with the work that I'm doing with my clients. It's incredible. It's mind-blowing. It's inspiring to me every single day, watching them come to this place and being able then to have the tools to move forward in their own life with courage running the show as opposed to fear. And if this is something that is speaking to you, if you are living in lower vibrational emotions and you're ready to come into courage, I need you to reach out to me and say, I need courage. Just a simple message just like that. And we can open up a conversation between the two of us, because trust me, when you get to this point, there is no going back. Your whole life shifts, and it is so beautiful, empowering, and inspiring. It will blow your mind. You have the ability to blow your own mind. Trust me. And with that, I am going to log off for today. I hope you have a beautiful day. If you have any questions about courage, about the Purposeful Insight program, about me, about my journey, any question, nothing is off the table. Please let me know. And I will see you again back here next Friday. We'll see you soon.